Hi, it's Josh Brown. I'm here with Michael Batnick as usual. We are live from the compound with Rich Greenfield. Rich is our special guest today. He covers tech, media, telecom. He is the founding partner of Lightshed. He is a researcher, an investor. He's got a lot of insights into the streaming wars. We're going to talk about what investors need to know about streaming, digital content, everything that's going to happen in 2020. Stick around. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so Rich, thanks for coming by. You're not far from here. You guys are in the 50s?
We're in the 50s. We're Midtown East.
All right, so we'll see you every day.
Live from the shed.
Live from the shed. So first of all, let's just get into what Lightshed is. You were an analyst on Wall Street for many, many years covering technology and media. 24
plus years covering media, stocks like Disney, Time Warner back in the day, to what now is Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and literally everything in between.
You've seen like everything happen in that period of time.
I've seen the early days of Goldman. I remember when Disney bought ABC and when Time Warner bought Turner, let alone now where AT&T's buying Time Warner. So seen a lot of consolidation, a lot of breaking apart, and sort of the natural ebb and flow of businesses. I mean, music's hot.
Right.
I remember early, 15 years ago, music was collapsing.
Right. Now Spotify is like a hot brand.
It's like legal Napster.
Warner Music just filed to go public.
Right. So
at multiples of what it got taken private at.
So at Lightshed, you guys are writing research, and I know you're putting out a lot of stuff, and you're still advising the same institutions, hedge funds that you always were.
Our primary business is research, a subscription business for institutional investors. Obviously, we have a public persona that we use Twitter and all forms of, whether it's CNBC, podcasts like yours, Josh. And we're looking forward to sort of highlight the themes and things we believe in as kind of a flywheel for our, also to learn for our subscription research product.
Okay, so let's get into like the streaming companies, because it seems like 2019 was like the biggest year so far for a lot of launches. Were you surprised that Disney got almost 30 million subs in 2 months, or is that what you expected?
First of all, there is, if you had gone back a year and said, what were people expecting, from a Disney service in its first year, let alone first month and a half?
Right.
You were probably in the single-digit millions.
No way.
Absolutely.
Really?
I mean, look, Netflix had never added more than 7 million customers in the U.S. in a year. Disney added 26 million. Now, some of that was international. Let's just say 22 million of them were domestic.
Right.
They added 22 million
fast
in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So let's just be clear. 7 million was the biggest number ever in a year, and they did 22 in 6 weeks.
So, okay.
Now, part of that is, you got to break that apart, right? I mean, part of it is the market's been primed for streaming over the course of the last decade.
I was going to say, Netflix made it a thing,
Netflix is not new to streaming, right? I mean, they've been streaming for a while, even originals. I mean, House of Cards was what, now
2013?
Yeah, I mean, we're now 7 years into the Netflix doing originals, let alone more than a decade into Netflix. So Disney's not exactly early to this.
Do we know how many of the 22 million are paid, or not yet?
We know probably around 5 million plus of those came from Verizon, which means they were essentially free as part of the Verizon Unlimited plan, at least for year one. So the vast majority were paid on a global basis.
So Disney was an obvious winner, but there's this idea all the time that there has to be a loser. Does there have to be a loser?
Well, it's funny. Disney's a winner when you talk, if we're talking discreetly about streaming, for sure. But remember, the bigger streaming gets, whether we're talking at Disney Plus or whether we're talking HBO Max or whether we're talking Peacock at NBC, there is a necessary loser on the other side.
Broadcast. Which
is broadcast and cable network television. I mean, ESPN lost 4.5% of its sub base. It was losing 1% of its sub base a year ago. So cord cutting has dramatically accelerated. I think the interest in linear live TV is collapsing. I mean, look at the Oscars. Not that Oscars is the be-all, end-all, but as an example, I mean, live events was supposed to be the one thing that was kind of sticky. And, you look at the Oscars and, we're half the audience that was at 10 years ago. I mean, these are numbers in terms of the declines. You're really seeing consumers abandon linear live television.
And nobody's watching the Oscars later. Like, if you're a fan, you're watching it that night. It's not like an event you DVR and get back to.
Yeah, but the bigger problem is the best content, or I shouldn't say the best. Best is such a subjective word. But the most ambitious content that you, your family, your friends None of that ambitious content is happening on linear TV. I mean, think
way.
of what's the last show that was zeitgeisty on
Lost?
broadcast or cable?
Lost?
No, I mean,
How I Met Your Mother.
Us?
Maybe
This
modern,
Us?
This
modern,
is us.
Yeah.
Modern
So
Family.
this is us 4.5 years
But we have
ago.
to struggle to come up with that. So the loser, like obviously CBS, ABC, NBC,
But also the cable networks, right? I
Right.
mean, all of these cable networks are
FX.
Look,
To your,
and
to
FX
your-
has done a great
to your
job.
point,
but
though,
look,
nobody watched those shows comparable to the night. Like if you had a hit TV show in the year 2000, everyone watched
It's
it.
must-see TV.
it was you were watching it on broadcast or cable television. That's where the conversation was generated.
Yeah.
Now those shows are happening on Netflix, on Amazon. Mandalorian's on Disney Plus, not on Disney Channel.
Amazon Prime has shows people talk about.
Jack Ryan, Mrs. Maisel. I mean, all of the shows. Fleabag is on
Fleabag.
Amazon. Cheers being taught everywhere I go. People are talking about Cheer and You. You was a show that failed on A&E and now is on Netflix and shifted over. No one talked about it when it was on cable television. Now everywhere I go, people are talking about that show. And so all of the shows that are dominating the zeitgeist are really happening on these streaming services. So when all of the shows you want to watch are on streaming, it sort of makes sense that not only is viewership declining for linear live TV, but on top of that, people are cutting the cord because you're just using this less. So why spend $80 to $100 a month for video service that you're not really watching?
Let's talk about some of the newer services that are going to come out. Let's assume the average middle class household is okay with giving Netflix $13 and Disney $7. Let's assume. And then let's assume.
Well, remember, the average household was paying $80, if not $100, for cable.
So now they just get the broadband pipe instead.
Sure.
They're not
Well,
watching Stars.
not instead. You were getting the broadband pipe either way.
Okay. So
Right? Like it's not like you're saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to cut the video cord and now I'm going to sign up for broadband." You were getting broadband anyway. Maybe you pay a few dollars more for broadband, but Verizon just cut price in New York. I mean, if you can get for $39.99, you can get really good broadband from Verizon now in New York City, and you don't have to take video.
Right.
They basically say if you want YouTube TV or you want a video service, go ahead and add it. But they're no longer forcing you into that kind of double or triple play bundle that you're used to.
You don't have to pay for Bravo, ESPN, all this other stuff.
You want to just have Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon and whatever. It's bring your own video service. And I think that's a huge change in how customer wallet is being redistributed. Before, you had to get this huge bundle. And so people say, oh my God, the streaming wars are going to be so much more expensive. You're going to spend so much more money and you're going to get less than you had before. Well, let's just be clear. You are paying for a lot of things you didn't want before.
That's right.
And all the things that you really want to watch outside of sports are not in that bundle anymore.
Yeah, it used to be 800 channels and nothing's on.
Well, but even more, right now, the shows that you actually want to watch aren't in that bundle. Like, you actually can't watch Mandalorian. You spend $100 a month on the cable bundle for Spectrum in New York City. You can't watch Mandalorian in that bundle. You have to go out and get Disney Plus.
The bundle was socialism for shitty channels that cable companies owned as like a side project, right? Like Cablevision owned some channels. I feel like they just were there because they were there.
It was a great business. You woke up in the morning, and whether people watched you or not, every one of your listeners who right now who has a cable service or satellite service, they're paying $9 a month for ESPN, whether they watch it or not.
Yeah.
They're paying $8.50 for the Yes Network. For MSG. They're paying $6.50 for Yes Network. The amount of money that everyone is paying for these sports networks, even if they don't watch them, is incredible.
In hindsight, how could that have gone on forever? They had it for like 20 years.
Look, the internet disrupts businesses, and we've seen this industry by industry. Whether in the media world, I've seen it in music, I've seen it in publishing. You walk outside, you've seen it in the taxi industry with Uber. Everywhere you look, the internet disrupts inefficiencies, and I think this was a classic example of where people were being forced to basically buy a lot of things that they don't want. I mean, how many people do you know subscribe to Netflix and don't want to? Right? I mean, it's so easy to cancel. You're sort of crazy. If you pay for Netflix and you don't want it and you don't use it,
you know what?
That's weird.
Everyone has that one show that they like, and if it comes back, they stay. I want to ask you about some of the newer ones. So CBS, I think, is DOA, but maybe you know better than I do, and I'm wrong. NBC looks
Peacock,
like
where's the audience for that?
They want to go ad-supported. Does anyone want to watch streaming with commercials? I don't think so. Like, what are your thoughts on like some of the newer ones that are going to hit now?
I guess I take it from a kind of a macro level of the legacy TV bundle is dying. So time and money, time and wallet is going to be redistributed to many platforms. The internet is usually winner take most. Certainly if you look kind of category by category, I'm not sure why it sort of has kind of happened that way, but there's lots of room for second and third players. I think people are going to have a lot of subscriptions. Remember, you can sign up for something like Disney Plus, watch The Mandalorian, and then cancel.
And then come back later when
it comes back. It's so easy. If you want, the reason why CBS All Access is now expanding to include some of the Viacom content, they're probably going to call it like Viacom CBS All Access or something like that.
Great name. Consumers going to love that.
You would sign up for Star Trek, watch Star Trek for a few weeks.
I might do that.
And then leave.
I might do that.
Because think about it. Before, to cancel your cable service,
oh, forget it.
you had to literally call up.
And return the box.
No. You had to be tortured on the phone, transferred around for 2 hours. You probably were offered a deal so incredible you actually don't leave. But if you actually did get to the point of actually being able to disconnect, then the ultimate insult, Josh, which is what you just said, you had to actually unplug the equipment, walk into a store, wait online to hand off your equipment.
Yeah, I did it.
Now it's literally click. And as fast as you can click that button on your phone, you've canceled service for the time, and then adding it back is another click. And so that's a huge change.
People are going to get more savvy about how much they're paying who, what duration they're paying for, and then coming back to things when there's a reason. You're saying people are going to manage their content more than they used to.
But that makes the business side of this much tougher, right? That's why if you're Netflix, you're creating content every single day. It's why HBO is going from HBO to HBO Max. They need more. You need to keep people engaged every day, every part of the household, because it's too easy to churn. And so I think a lot of these services are gonna grow and have users. So the question is, how good of a business will they be? And I think that's going to be determined by who invests in services that you want to actually keep and pay for the entire year. To your point on commercials, though, I would push back a little bit. Look, Hulu's got to 30 million subscribers.
And they're running ads.
And they have 70% of their subscribers take the ad version because it's cheaper. Now, it's a low ad load.
Is Hulu like Netflix for boomers?
Can't say that.
We need the OK boomer shot in, right there.
Well, it's good that you asked it and didn't emphatically state it.
It's just asking.
Okay.
The Hulu, Hulu's basically, in terms of what's driven it historically, Hulu is essentially it was a cord cutter's dream, right? You could watch last night's television with a lot less ads or no ads without having to use a DVR or anything like that. I mean, it was all the content from ABC, Fox, and NBC. Now, Fox is not making a lot of content anymore. NBC is going to move their content to Peacock. Obviously, linear TV, as we talked about, is sort of dying. And so the question is what is Hulu going to be when it grows up? I think you see signs. If you watch the Oscars the other night, they're clearly moving towards making this more of the FX network. So FX is sort of shifting. Yeah. Instead, FX is going to make content that never airs on FX, the channel. It only airs on Hulu. So it's they're really morphing Hulu into a destination for premium kind of FX-like programming. We'll see. I think it's very much to be determined how well that works. It's definitely they're going to try to change it from last night's television to something new in terms of original programming. The jury's still out. I think look, the lift of Hulu transforming the way we're talking about is very different than Disney Plus. I mean, Disney Plus has an incredible embedded brand, and you're basically saying, hey, instead of buying DVDs or worrying about the Disney Channel, everything in the
Here's
Disney
the whole library
for $6.99 a month.
I want to ask you about three others. Is Apple serious? Are they going to make acquisitions to get bigger in content? Will they figure out what they're doing and then just go crazy and take the whole game over, or are they going to just kind of seem reserved the way they are right now forever?
It's always important to remember that Netflix started with a show called Lilyhammer.
Yeah, with Steve Van
Zandt.
Stevie.
Yeah,
I remember that.
So it was a Norwegian show, and that was the kind of the first big original. And I shouldn't say big, but quote unquote, there was an opening and a small red carpet the length of this table for the event, and that's where they started.
Yeah.
That was in 2012.
Very modest. Let's see if people watch it. Let's see if people talk about it.
Look where we are now.
Yeah.
Apple, they started with a couple of shows that kind of rip off of Carpool Karaoke that no one watched. The Planet of the Apps show that they played around with a couple summers ago. everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah.
I think Apple's in this for the long term, and I think there's a lot of disbelievers and doubters.
Well, so that my point is, like, if you're a Hollywood studio, if you're a CBS, you have some capital, you have a great library, but Apple could spend $10 billion a year if they feel like it. It wouldn't even show up on the balance sheet. And like wouldn't you just sell now rather than torture yourself and compete with? And we'll get into Amazon next.
Look, if you're the problem with this is, I think Netflix has basically proven to the world that you don't need to buy studios. Netflix didn't go out and buy, Sony or Lionsgate or
You don't need to buy libraries. Right.
You don't need to buy You literally just hire the people.
Yeah.
The people are literally acquirable.
Amazon did that last night with this guy from Sony.
They just hired Mike Hopkins. You can literally pick the talent, not just the executive talent, but the, Shonda Rhimes. She produced for ABC and Disney.
Wait a minute.
Now she produces for Netflix. Ryan Murphy produced for Fox. Now he produces for Netflix.
So can anyone pay that talent the way that Bezos or Cook would be willing to? Probably not, right?
The ability to compete with the legacy ecosystem, it takes obviously technology and distribution. Both these companies have that.
Sure.
And it takes a big wallet.
And they have that too.
So they become
almost unlimited.
No, it's not, I would say, we've seen over the last few years, it's not that simple, right? Because Amazon's spending $6 billion plus a year on content, and I don't think anyone would say Amazon's been anywhere, even if they're spending less than Netflix. They certainly have not been on a relative basis. They're not half as successful in streaming as Netflix. They're not even close.
Not even close.
So, I think part of that may be why they're bulking up the executive ranks and why they're getting, why their ambitions continue to grow. But I wouldn't count either of these companies out. Remember, they're looking at it also through a very different lens. For Apple, it's, do we sell more devices? Do we build a subscription layer on top of those devices? For Amazon, it's, do you end up spending more over the course of a year
Prime usage
through Prime? This is very different lenses that these companies are looking. They're not. We're used to, the three of us are looking at this. And when you think about the way a media executive would think historically, it's, did this generate enough eyeballs to justify the amount of ads we can sell, and did it help us with our
1980s?
This is a whole different kind of understanding of how you're looking at and evaluating success.
Right.
For Netflix, they don't actually care how many people watch an individual show, right? It's, does this increase happiness where you end up churning less, or does it bring in somebody who wasn't a subscriber to be a subscriber?
All right, so
it's not about viewership.
Can you explain Roku to us? I know it's like one of the hottest stocks in the market. I know vaguely what it does.
Look, we make predictions every year. Our 2019 prediction was Roku, and this was when Roku was at $30. Our view was Roku should be acquired by Walmart, because it was such an incredible platform to help it compete with Amazon in the living room.
Where's the stock now? 100 something?
130.
Yeah. So what
didn't get bought?
But what is going on there? Is that going to be a thing for a long time, or are they going to get bought?
Look, if you were to sit here and tell me 3 years ago that Apple was going to put an Apple TV Plus app on a Roku device versus eliminate Roku or replace Roku. And I think the view was, right, like Apple's going to kill Roku. They're going to just steamroll over them. They have unlimited pockets, as you were just talking about. They'll just kill them.
Yeah, when does Apple go on anyone else's device? Never.
Amazon Prime, Amazon's going to kill Roku. Like, why do you need Roku?
That would have been what I would have said.
That's what everyone thought.
Yeah.
And here you have Roku's big enough and has enough distribution. If you have a TCL television, it's a Roku television. If you want to be embedded on that device, which millions of people have, you need to be in the Roku.
How did they get millions of people onto Roku?
I think it's focused.
Manufacturing
I think
deals?
it's sort of, look, there's definitely something in the ecosystem. If you look at Netflix, look at Spotify, and even on the tech side now, look at Roku. Focus, right? Like companies that only do one thing. All Roku does is make sure that they had very easy to use devices, got market share, moved from devices to the software for televisions.
They're in the TV.
Correct. Now in Europe, Google's done a much better job with Android TV. Is much more, Roku's far behind in Europe versus what Google. But in this country, Roku did a very good job of penetrating those TV manufacturers and getting their operating system to be that layer that controls what apps are there. And so, Disney Plus couldn't launch without having a Roku deal.
That's unbelievable.
Right? Like you're not going to launch any of these services and require people to go out and buy a different device.
So why doesn't anyone buy them? Because
well, I think the challenge now is the valuation.
Earnings and
the valuation is now a massive. Right? I mean, this is a very different. I mean, this is now a $20 billion company, not a few billion-dollar company.
They should have listened to you last year.
They should have.
What about the premium services like HBO and Showtime? So HBO obviously lost Game of Thrones. Showtime is losing Homeland, Shameless, and Ray Donovan. Like, what's next for them?
It's hard to believe Shameless has been on for as long as it has. I think both of them, and let's start with HBO because HBO is becoming HBO Max in May. The goal is to broaden the service, right? So there'll still be HBO for the purists who want just HBO. I think ultimately the distinction will disappear, but you're going to have a lot more content. So Friends and The West Wing and Big Bang Theory reruns will all be there.
Right.
Deep Warner Brothers movie catalog. I mean, Warner Brothers Television is one of the most prolific producers ever.
That's going to be on HBO Max?
Correct.
All that stuff?
All that stuff. And you're going to see,
I didn't even know that.
You're going to see rom-coms from Hello Sunshine. I mean, you're going to see so much diverse content on HBO Max, far beyond what you're used to.
Is it going to be $10 a month?
It's going to be the same $15 a month you're paying HBO. So if you pay HBO $15 right now,
you get both.
You're getting the same. You're just going to basically be switched over, and you can sign up for HBO Max, and it's the same service. It's just much better.
Yeah.
So for a consumer, this is a no-brainer. Now, again, I come back to if you get a service for the same price that it's way more to watch and way better, meaning you're going to use it more often, what's the negative? You're going to watch even less linear TV. It's going to hurt your interest in even having the bundle.
So in other words, like every single factor is a raid against people flipping on the TV,
the incumbents,
and watching broadcast.
That's why this whole idea of streaming wars is a total misnomer. Like the reality of the streaming companies, the war is on TV.
It's a war on TV. It's not a war between streaming companies.
No, because people want to stream. People want to spend more and more time streaming. They don't want linear television.
So you just gave us the title for the video. Listen, Rich, how do you want people to follow your stuff? I know you're great on Twitter, by the way. That's where you and I talk.
Rich Lightshed is on Twitter.
What's the handle? At Rich Lightshed?
At Rich Lightshed.
All right, we'll put a link to that. What else?
Our website is lightshedtmt.com, where we publish for subscribers to our content, and we're building a really exciting new business.
We love reading your stuff. You guys are really smart, and we learn. We're in the financial business. We're not in the TMT business, but we need to understand these trends. So we really appreciate you telling us what's going on.
There's a lot of disruption to invest around right now.
All right, hey guys, let us know what you think. Let us know what your thoughts are about Rich's ideas for 2020, the streaming wars, the war on TV. We love your comments. We love your feedback. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already, and we will be back very soon.